Hey y'all, it's Miss A. So today we are starting our next micro lesson. This time we are looking at locating, comparing, and ordering integers and rational numbers using a number line. The last couple days we've been doing equivalent fractions, decimals, and percents, and we're kind of going to tie that into some of the things we do here today, because we might need to convert the fraction into a decimal so we can compare. But that's what we're doing. Anyway, so let's go ahead and get started. Number 1 says 4 points are labeled on the number line. We have W, X, Y, and Z. Notice my number line starts at 0 and it ends at 1. So these are not 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's not going to be quite as easy as we might think. This whole space is representing 1. So what I'm going to do immediately is I'm going to determine what each of these lines are. So if we went from 0 to 1, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So if I take one whole, divide it by 10, I'm going to get 0.10 for each of these lines. So 0.10, this would be 0.20, 0.30. You could also say 0.1, 0.2, but I'm just going to say 30 by the 10s. So 0.50. 0.60, 0.70, 0.80, 0.90, and that's one whole, obviously. All right, so I'm just choosing to put the 30, 40, 50, 60, and so on. You could have just put the 0.1, 2, 3, 4. But most likely we're going to need that extra 0 to help us. All right, so now that I have that labeled, let's go ahead and look at our questions. It says, which point is best represented by 0.13 or 13 hundredths? Now, before we get started on actually finding it, I want you to just use a little bit of common sense, okay? If we think of this as a money amount, 13 cents is barely anything. It's not even close to $1. If this is no money and this is $1 or $0, this is $1, 13 cents is not going to be one of these at Z or Y because that's almost $1. It's going to be over here because it's barely above $1. So this point has got to be either W or X. This point is 7 out of 8. That's almost an entire whole because 8 pieces make up our whole. We have 7 of them. So that's got to be almost one whole dollar. So that's either going to be Y or Z. Down here, this is only 25 cents. Again, no, it's not really 25 cents. I'm just thinking it that way. This is 25 hundredths or 25 cents. And that's not even close to $1. That's going to be, again, W or X. So we're just kind of using some common sense to make sure when we get our answer that it's reasonable. And then 2/3, if 3 sections make up the entire thing and I have 2 of them, that's more than half. So that could be either Y or Z. Z looks a little bit too close, but we'll see if that logic or if that thinking matches up later. All right, so this one says 0.13. So this is why I put the 10, 20, 30. 0.13 is between 10 and 20. The only point that is between 10 and 20 is point W. So that matches my logic up here that I said earlier. If my logic is correct, then down here my point should be X. All right, 7 out of 8. What we're going to do here is we're actually going to convert that into a decimal because these were all decimals. If this was divided into 8 sections, it would have been easy, but of course they didn't do that. So I'm going to top in, bottom out. 8 can't go into 7. So I bring that up. And then don't forget to add your decimal and a 0. Decimal is very important. And then bring it up here. 8 goes into 70 8 times, which is 64. Subtract, we get 6. Add another 0. 8 goes into 67, which is 56. Subtract, we get 4. Add another 0. And then 8 goes into 45 times. This is one of those common fractions that you need to know and memorize, that 7/8 is 0.875. Just one you need to know. All right, so this one, now we obviously didn't have 3 decimal places, but if I just pretend that's gone for a second, this is 87. So 87 would be between 80 and 90, so that's point Z. Down here, we've got point 25, so 25 would be between 20 and 30, so that's X. So my reasonableness up here is matching up. And by process of elimination, this one should be y. But 2/3, if you were to convert that into a decimal, 2/3 is 0.6 repeating, or 0.66. So 66 would be between 60 and 70, which does match up. So that is correct. All right. Always easiest to convert everything into a decimal if need be. All right, so this one wants us to order and label the points on the number line. So we don't have the points now. We have to figure out where they're going to be placed. All right, so right here we've got point D at 4/8. What we're going to do to help us to graph them here is we're going to convert everything into a decimal. That should always be your first goal. Convert everything into a decimal. All right, before I typo this, I know 4/8 can be reduced by 4. 4/8 is equal to 1/2, and 1/2 equals 0.5. If you didn't know that, you could typo, but that's another benchmark that you need to memorize. I'm going to convert this one. So first of all, my decimal is going to be negative because there's a negative sign in front of the fraction. Now I'm going to do it over here, top in, bottom out. Top number goes inside, bottom number goes on the outside. 2 goes into 5 twice, which is 4. Subtract to equal 1. Don't forget your decimal and your 0. And then 2 goes into 10 5 times. So negative 2.5. So we have that number now. We have this number. And then we're going to divide this one. That's easy. 16 divided by 4 is 4. So that's my new number. And then this one's easy. It's a negative because there's a negative in front. And then 30 divided by 5 is 6. So now all we have to do is plot those points. I'm going to start with my easy ones, -6 and +4. Don't forget to label them. So -6 is G. Here's -6. There's G. +4 is F. +4, F. -2.5. Now be careful when you do these the decimals. Make sure you go between the correct numbers. Also, this is a negative, so don't go over here and say that it's 2.5. So the biggest mistake y'all make is, like when y'all looking over here, 2.5 would be after the 2. 4.5 would be after the 4. 6.5 would be after the 6. So when you're doing -2.5, you go after. But remember, negatives are going the opposite way. So -2.5 is actually a little bit more to the left of -2. So it's between -2 and -3. So right here would be point E. And then 0.5 is just half. So here's 0, there's a half, and that is point D. And that is it. Converting everything into a decimal and then plotting them on a number line. Remember, y'all have got 2 practice worksheets on Canvas. You only need to pick one, complete those problems, take a picture of your work, or join me on Zoom. So show me, if you take a picture, send it to me in Canvas, like a couple of you have been doing. And then there is a micro assessment Google form for you to complete. And once you have that done, you are done for the day. Y'all have a great day, and I will talk to y'all later. Bye, guys.